On today's show, Noah and I look into the NBA slate of Christmas Day games. We also look at the new city jerseys for each team, which jerseys we like, which ones we dislike. We also look at the Russell Westbrook-John Wall trade, who won the trade, and the future of both the Rockets and the Wizards. All that NBA talk before we close it out with the NFL Week 13.
Yeah, you know what time it is.
This man was a bona fide scrub.
Episode 51 of the Bona Fide Scrubs podcast. No Levine, Will Swinky as usual. We were off for an entire week. We're coming back since we're college students. We have lives, we have work to do. Finals week is next week. So shout out to all the college students out there grinding away. We're almost done with the fall semester. But we got some basketball news. We have a lot of sports news to get into today. It is December 4th today, actually, Will. And you know whose birthday that is today?
That's right, December 4th. The happy birthday to the great Jay-Z, Skip Bayless as well. It's a good day to be recording a show. And, you said we were off for a week. We're getting prepared to be off for another week because next week is actually our finals week, the final week of the semester for both of us. So we'll give you a little show here at sort of the halftime and then finish up next week. And then we'll be back to our full 2-show-a-week schedule for the rest of the year.
And it's my half birthday, December 4th. My actual birthday is June 4th. So, yeah, 19 and a half. But not much to get excited over with this pandemic and everything. For real birthdays, too. I mean, I didn't even do anything for my birthday in June. That was like sort of the quote-unquote peak of the coronavirus, people were saying. And now the cases are even higher than before. So,
Yikes.
Yeah, bad time. But the Christmas schedule was released well, and a lot of interesting matchups, I must say. The Pelicans play the Heat at noon. I don't know why the Pelicans are playing on Christmas. They did last year, and they actually won, but Zion didn't even play. So will Zion actually be able to play in this Christmas Day game?
Yeah, looking at this schedule, I mean, to me, I kind of do like all the teams that they put on the slate. It just, I kind of don't understand some of the matchups. I feel like the Heat, they should be playing Boston in this game. It's a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I feel like the Pelicans, they're going to put them on just to get Zion there. They probably should be playing a team like the Warriors, who we haven't seen a lot of on national TV because they were such a bad team last year. Curry's obviously back, and they are a good team again. Wiseman is going to be on display here, so they want to get them out there. I feel like Warriors, Pelicans, and Heat Celtics would have been smarter. And that just leaves the Nets to face the Bucks, and that's another good matchup to me as well. So I think they sort of, messed up when it came to some of these matchups. I think they could have used the same teams and sort of allocated the games a little bit differently, and that would have been a little bit better. But I don't know, the last two games, Mavs, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, those are obviously pretty good matchups. I like those. And, we'll get to see a lot of new players on their new teams at the start of the year. The Lakers, they obviously have Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, and for the Clippers, they lost a couple of their players, and they're going to face the Nuggets, who they blew a 3-1 lead to last season. So, some storylines here on Christmas Day, as always.
Yeah, I'm always more excited for Christmas Day basketball. Thanksgiving football, it's nice. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, but my favorite thing to do, Will, to wake up on Christmas is to watch NBA basketball, because usually the Knicks are on, and they're not this year. In the second straight year, this is a disgrace. I know they're horrible, but you could have Knicks versus the Nets on Christmas. It'd be interesting. KD, Kyrie coming into the Garden, but there's gonna be no fans anyway, so maybe like the Knicks Madison Square Garden appeal just isn't there this year. And also they're gonna be 15th in the East probably, or something like that. But yeah, the Clippers Nuggets, that's sort of a revenge game for the Clippers. They blew a 3-1 lead to them. They're the last game at 10:30. And Luka Magic against the Lakers. That's going to be a fun matchup. Maybe Luka could be the frontrunner for MVP this year. According to most people, maybe he has a good chance to win it. And the reigning 2-time MVP, Giannis, against KD and Kyrie. Or no, against the Warriors.
It's weird. They should be playing
weird.
KD
The Warriors,
and Kyrie.
the Warriors, I think they're just going to get blown out by the Bucks on Christmas Day in Milwaukee, unless Curry goes nuts. But I mean, nevertheless, these games are good. But why do you think the Knicks aren't on Christmas?
It is so disappointing as Knicks fans to not have them be on Christmas. I guess everybody else in the NBA kind of hates when they're on, especially recently, just because they've been so bad. And I mean, do they deserve to be on Christmas Day this year or
No.
last year? No, they're terrible. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. But as a Knicks fan, that tradition of being able to watch your team on Christmas, it's exciting, and it's sort of been the only thing keeping the Knicks relevant at all. It's one of their only national TV games over the past few years, and now they haven't even gotten that. So it's just kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see, the New York team, our favorite team, sort of drift slowly into irrelevance. And now we have to watch the damn Nets on Christmas Day with all their new players and
Yeah.
everything. We're gonna have to suffer through that also. So
Is-
it's sort of a double L for us Knicks fans on Christmas Day.
It's definitely a shift in culture. I mean, the Nets, they were the front page and the back page news.
What?
Or not the front
What?
page and back page.
Excuse you?
No, they were the
back page news.
They were back page news in the New York Post. It was a picture of KD and the $164 million man. So it's a shift in New York culture, but the Barclays didn't sell any tickets when they had a team, and they're not going to sell any tickets anyways now with the pandemic going on.
Oh, yeah, they kind of don't have a choice.
But yeah, I mean, the Lakers, they were put on prime time because LeBron's still the star of the league. I mean, he's the most marketable athlete in sports. They won the championship last year. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, he's not really he's a star, but he's not a big of a star draw as LeBron James. They just shoved the Clippers and Nuggets to two irrelevant fan bases in a way at 10:30. Kawhi doesn't speak much. You can't be the spokesman or the leader of a league if you don't speak. So they're trying to have Luka maybe potentially be the next star of the NBA. Maybe that's what Adam Silver wants. Giannis, I mean, definitely there, but I feel like more people will draw to Luka more, honestly.
The one thing about all these games is every team kind of has a star. I mean, I guess you could say the team with the worst roster in terms of
Pelicans.
box office. No, I was going to say the Heat. The team that they're playing. Pelicans.
No, you think
obviously
no way.
At least they have Zion. That's like somebody that the NBA wants to promote. The Heat have no way.
Are you
Jimmy,
saying
they're not promoting Jimmy?
I thought you're talking about you're sort of saying for marketing aspect and stars. You're not saying actual team because the Pelicans have the worst team on this slate by far.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The Celtics might get killed.
I'm just talking about players that they want to sell. The NBA wants to sell Zion. They want to sell Curry, Giannis, Durant, Tatum, Luka, LeBron, Kawhi, and whatever, Jokic and Jamal Murray, I guess, there at the end. But the Knicks, I mean, that's just the one thing keeping them off the schedule. They have no marketable players on their team at all. And I don't know, maybe after this year, we get a second year of RJ Barrett. Maybe he averages somewhere close to 20 points, and he's sort of looked at as part of the future of the NBA eventually. But for this year, they don't have anybody worthy to put them on a Christmas Day game. And the NBA, they need as many eyes as they can get on a sport that was struggling last year. And, we don't know what the ratings are going to look like this season. So they got to get all their biggest stars on the biggest day because Christmas is their biggest day.
Yeah, and I'm going to be a viewer. I'm definitely going to be watching all those games all day. Probably not going to have much family over because of the pandemic. We didn't even do Thanksgiving this year, really. So Christmas probably going to be the same thing. It's not looking good. But anyways, if you look at these teams, Will, I mean, the European players are maybe taking over the NBA soon once LeBron retires. Because look at the Bucks. Their best player is Giannis from Greece. The Mavs have Luka and Porzingis. And the Nuggets have Jokic. He's from Serbia. So there's three teams that are pretty much led by a Euro star. And that's great for the NBA. It's going to have to draw more fans from other countries to watch it. So they've been pushing for a while now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the NBA, you could safely say, is the most marketed international sport from America. And, what I mean by that is obviously baseball. They have a lot of international players from most notably South America, Asia. There's a lot of players from Japan and the Dominican in the MLB. But in the NBA, Giannis is a way bigger star than anybody in the MLB, whether it's an international player or an American player. And same with Luka and same with pretty much anybody. So Yeah, you're right. The NBA is trending more and more towards an international game, and that can only benefit them. I think it's good to get these guys on Christmas Day, and they're definitely stars in America, but obviously stars overseas as well.
Yeah, I have no complaint about all these matchups. They're all pretty good, except for the Pelicans game. I don't really have that much of an interest in watching Fat Zion try to jump over Bam or something. But I mean, they lost Drew Holiday to the Pelicans. I mean, Kyra Lewis Jr., our boy, drafted 13th, is probably going to be their starting point guard for this game. So
Well, Lonzo will start point guard.
Lonzo or Kyra, they could be in the backcourt. The NBA also released city jerseys. What do you think of those? I mean, all new city jerseys. There's a lot of ugly ones, and it looks like from the perception we post on our Instagram, the perception is it looks like some of these are pretty bad, and looks like they were made by like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, we did post a photo of all the city jerseys on our Instagram at the Bona Fide Scrub. So go check out that photo and check out the account. Yeah, I'm not a fan of really any of these jerseys. I think probably the Lakers is one of the better ones. That's just like sort of a classic throwback. The Raptors as well. That's kind of like an OVO style Drake black and gold jersey. You can't really go wrong with that. But some of these, I mean, yeah, I hate to say it, but the Knicks jersey, that might be one of the worst ones on the list. The Nets as well. That literally looks like it was drawn by a little kid. The font on the front, it literally looks like it's just terrible handwriting. The Celtics, I don't know, it's something about the Atlantic Division. I guess they have bad designers. The Celtics, it's literally just their home jersey, and it's just Boston Celtics on the front. Like I don't know why anybody would buy that instead of just their normal jersey. So yeah, the NBA they keep trying to get more creative. I remember in the past there used to be Christmas Day jerseys, and now they sort of have done
I
away with
love
that for
those.
the
Remember,
more permanent city jerseys. I guess they're going to wear those on Christmas Day this year. So I don't know. I think they could have certainly done a better job with a lot of these teams. I mean, the Rockets jersey is literally blue. I mean, I know that they had the navy jerseys with Hakeem in the '90s and stuff, but this is literally a baby blue Rockets jersey. That doesn't even make any sense. So I think they could have been smarter with their jersey design for this season.
yeah, this one's terrible. I actually kind of like the Wizards. It reminisces their like normal like kind of white jersey with the DC on the front. I kind of like that. Um, Toronto, obviously that's good. Nav and Drake's hometown, the OVO, it looks pretty cool. I actually kind of like the Hornets. I know you're probably not going to like it, but I kind of like this Buzz City color. I don't think it's the best, but I think it's better than most of these, to be honest. It'd be cool rocking a LaMelo, I think, in a Buzz City. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, not all of them are terrible. I don't know. I think they could have done a better job, especially the Knicks. I mean, come on, this is literally just it looks like a
Yeah.
practice jersey. It's just a black jersey with like a circle in the middle, and it says "The city never sleeps." I don't know. I don't think that many people are gonna like a lot of these.
The Dallas jersey doesn't even make sense. It's just white and like gold on it. What does that have to do with the Mavs? They've always worn blue jerseys and like turquoise. What does this white and gold have to do with it?
Well, the Mavs, they randomly had like during when they had Steve Nash on their team, they had like a brown, like bronze
Ew.
colored jersey, which I don't know, that didn't even make any sense then. But yeah, I mean the amount of black and gold and white and gold, the Hawks, the Mavs, the Raptors, I mean all these, even the Bulls have like a black and orange kind of. The Cavs have it too. I mean they kind of just all are the same.
Yeah, I really miss the old Christmas Day jerseys. I'm looking at them on my phone right now. The Warriors one look really nice. These are from 2015. I'll show them up on the screen. But the Rockets, the Spurs had a nice one. Like remember the Heat one? Like these all had some great jerseys in the past, and now we've gone to these bad new like city jerseys every year. They change it up. They just want to make money. I will definitely not be purchasing a Knicks city jersey this year. I don't even have any Knicks city jersey for that matter. I don't really buy those. I just like the regular jerseys, but maybe a Toronto, maybe a nice Siakam jersey. Fan of Spicy P. Maybe for fun. I don't know. City jerseys. I'm not really gonna buy any of those.
Remember
Otherwise,
the NBA tried to incorporate the sleeve jerseys? I remember that was like a big
I forgot what
controversy. And, like
what do those look
the
like. I
the
forgot about
players
that.
hated it because like the sleeves like would restrict their jump shot. Like LeBron like cut them off or he like ripped them off in the middle of a game one time. Like I guess after that they sort of just did away with the sleeve jerseys, but that was a weird time.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at that right now. The Warriors one looks pretty cool. I actually kind of like these, but like I guess it's not really a jersey. I could see why the players would complain about that. But I mean, the Cavs
Yeah, I don't know.
2016 final jerseys, remember those when they won with the black? Those are sleeve jerseys basically.
I know.
Like, and they won with those. So why is he complaining? He is the game of his life in that jersey. Kyrie and LeBron. Those jerseys are nice, but they don't wear those anymore.
The Knicks for Christmas Day, they had a sleeve jersey, the all orange. I think that was 2014 or 2015.
Yeah, they don't really do well in those. They also got rid of the orange paint, so the orange paint was better than the orange jersey. We can all agree. Some New York news, a little baseball, like a little 20-second baseball thing. The Yankees brought Gary back. What do you think of that? Do you think he batted 140? He got a raise. Michael Kay is complaining how you can get a raise for batting 140 with arbitration or tender. They tendered him, and can Gary Sanchez get his act together? Well,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected this to happen. I wasn't sure how they were going to fix their catcher problem for anything less than what you were going to have to pay Gary Sanchez. I mean, $60 million in the MLB, not necessarily the most amount of money. So it does seem like it was a smart decision to bring him in. They weren't going to go out and get JT Realmuto, which I know some Yankee fans, cough, our friends who host shows at Thomas. Some of those fans, they just want to sign the best player at every position all the time, and that's just not realistic. So bringing in Gary, it's definitely a fine move. If he gets back on track this year, it's going to look smart. And I don't know, it seems like there's nowhere to go but up for him. He hitting 140, just terrible slugging, terrible on base. He just has to get better. He is a good hitter. He's a good player. We've seen it before from him, and he just has to get back at it. It was a weird year, a short season with 60 games, no fans, a weird environment. Players were under a lot of pressure last year, and now hopefully, by next summer, we'll get back to normal, and Gary can get his game back to normal, and that'll be it. He'll just go back to being a decent catcher, and nobody will be able to complain about him anymore.
I don't think he's going to be decent ever again.
Why not?
He's bad. He's just bad at hitting.
That's not a good reason.
Yeah, I'm biased against the Yankees. The Mets, on the other hand, they actually brought back Steven Matz for $5 million. He was awful last year. He's only a lefty in the rotation as of now. I mean, he was a good pitcher before last year. Maybe a 60-game sample isn't good enough. You can make that argument for Sanchez too. But
Right, I did it, and you said he was bad.
yeah, maybe Steven Matz and Gary are just in the toilet. But Steven Matz going to be the fifth starter probably. He might be a big piece of this rotation, barring any injuries. But he's shown with talent before. Steven Gary, these players just had rough seasons. I mean, both of them could easily become to where they were again. And the Mets signed Trevor May. I love this signing. Reliever from Minnesota. He's one of the best relievers in baseball. And I've been complaining about this show and for years how the Mets have no bullpen and they blow games all the time. So Trevor May can help fix that for the Mets. That's a good signing by Cohen. For one on this signing so far. We still don't have a GM or any of that stuff, but Cohen, his Twitter, I love his Twitter. He always interacts with fans. He tweeted yesterday, who was the most interesting player, non-tendered and why? And a bunch of people responded, shout out to my dad. He responded to this tweet. He said, Rosario, the Twins are playing the small market game like the Indians with hand. They have up-and-coming young outfielders, and they don't want to pay them. Solid 30-home run outfielders for the price. I love this. If the Mets actually make a push, Rosario would be a great sign because Steve Cohen, he's a new owner. He never lost any money during the pandemic because he didn't own a baseball team. He didn't lose any money. So the Phillies can't afford Realmuto. The Mets can make a run at him. I personally do not want him. I would not pay a catcher that much. Catchers struggle a lot, but Cohen's Twitter is pretty good. I mean, he's listening to fans. If he actually wants to go out and get Rosario or Realmuto, I wouldn't be opposed to it completely if he really made the splash for all these guys.
That is an interesting approach, having a Twitter and asking your fans what players are the most interesting and why, and
I like
maybe
it.
going
He's
after
the only
them.
owner that tweets.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why you would like that as a fan. I also could see why it would be problematic because, you are supposed to be, you're the owner of the team. Obviously, you're going to hire people around you who are smart at baseball. You're going to get a GM in there. You're going to get, all these people in the front office. They kind of have to be able to operate independently of what the fan base thinks, because the fan base operates on emotion. They like certain players just because they were on the team once, or they hate this player because he made this one bad play in this one bad spot, and now all the fans hate him. So there is a fine line between, getting input from your fan base and just actually listening to them and doing what they say. So I don't know. If I were a Mets fan, I would like Steve Cohen reaching out to the fan base on Twitter, but I would hope that he actually, filters some of that information and doesn't take it too seriously or too literally, because you could end up with some mistakes if you're just listening to a bunch of casual fans who aren't, super dedicated to the team. And even dedicated fans, not everybody knows what they're talking about, especially from, an insider running the team's standpoint. It's not just like as easy as playing my GM on MLB The Show or 2K or anything like that and doing whatever you want. There's actual real, challenges that come with owning a team and managing a team. So I like it. I like him reaching out to the fan base, but he should be careful on how much he listens to every Twitter response he gets.
Oh, I don't know if he's going to make all these moves, but it's cool. I mean, we're in 2020. Social media has taken over everyone's lives. I mean, you don't see any. I mean, Steve Cohen, the big thing about him, he actually is a Mets fan. He's always been a Mets fan, and it's his dream. And now he's owning the team. A lot of owners don't even care for the team. It's just a business for them. I know. I mean, like, what would you think if Cashman started tweeting out, like, what should we do with Gary Sanchez? What do you think? What do you
Cashman's
think
a
would happen
GM.
there?
It's a different role. It's a different
Yeah,
role.
it's a different role. The
So
owner.
if a GM started doing that, it would be much more alarming to me than an owner.
That's true. Yeah, because he doesn't even have a GM yet, and I mean, technically, he doesn't make the moves in a sense. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. But a lot of people respond to his tweet with Eddie Rosario, and he's a great player. So hopefully, the Mets, maybe he should listen to the fan base and go out and get him. But yeah, he literally tweets like questions of fans, and like he's basically a fan with $1 billion owning a team. That's basically what that pretty much would be
true.
us if we owned the team. We'd be tweeting stuff. Definitely going to be a fun offseason for the Mets.
All right, well, let's get into some of our bigger stories for this episode. As we were in our hiatus, away from the mics, Russell Westbrook was traded off the Houston Rockets. He was traded to the Washington Wizards.
The
for
damn
John
Washington
Wall
Wizards.
and a first-round pick. Kind of a trade we heard about, but it didn't seem like it was going to be too serious. The trade talks kind of died, and then these teams actually pulled the trigger on it. And these two all-star point guards switching teams, the Rockets got a first-rounder out of it, which is interesting because I think out of the next 5 or 6 drafts, they only own one of their own first-round draft picks. All their other picks are from other teams. So, they're just trying to acquire as many picks as they can. I think that the Washington Wizards won this trade. I've been hearing a lot from people and saying a lot on social media that the Rockets won. And I'm not really sure how that makes any sense, just being that Russell Westbrook is already a better player than John Wall, as we know. I guess the Rockets got a first-round pick out of it, but the Wizards, if they have Westbrook and Beal as a duo, a star duo, they're not going to be at the top of the draft. I mean, maybe they'll get like the 14th pick out of it, but it's not going to be, a top 5 pick. And John Wall, I mean, we've talked about this off the show. He's basically coming out of retirement next season. He's been gone for 2 years. So, I mean, you don't even know what you're going to get out of him, even if he returns to a 15-10 guy, a solid, even borderline all-star level player. Russell Westbrook is still much better than John Wall ever was. I mean, he's a former MVP. He does pair with Beal there in the backcourt. And Westbrook, I mean, he came onto the Rockets sort of having to take a back seat to James Harden. I don't think he goes to the Wizards and takes a back seat. I think he is the best player on the Wizards, and I think he can.
You think he's better than
take
Beal
over the team
at
yes,
this point in his
do.
career?
I think he could take over the team like he did in OKC, and they might be able to complement each other better than Harden and Westbrook did, just because Beal
Definitely
he does have the ability to play off the ball, and he doesn't need to be dribbling around all day like James Harden. I hate watching that. Part of the reason why I have my beef against Harden, but I think this is a fine trade. I don't really see it being, a super difference maker for either of the teams. But if I'm gonna pick a winner, I gotta pick the Wizards. I mean, they're getting the better player here.
I'm gonna agree with you. We haven't seen John Wall play in 2 years. DeMarcus Cousins, I've completely forgot, but that dude signed with the Rockets. He hasn't played in like 2 years, basically. The Rockets are awful. I think they're awful. And the Wizards definitely won this trade. It doesn't matter about that first rounder. First rounders are pretty much useless in the NBA unless it's a top 5 pick, what we've seen this offseason. I mean, Drew Holiday was traded for 5 firsts, and he's not even an all-star. So, like, just trading 1 first and swapping a player, like, we actually don't know what we're getting for out of John Wall. We know what we're getting out of Russell Westbrook. He's a capable player, 25, 8 guy nightly. I mean, Beal could work. I kind of like the Wizards roster. I mean, they're going to be a fun offensive juggernaut, but can they play defense? Well, I mean, they had like the 8th pick this year. I mean, maybe they could go for the 8th seed. It's going to be them or the Hawks or some other team, but I like the Wizards roster now. They have Westbrook, Beal, Hachimura. They re-signed Bertans. That was a big signing for them. And they have Thomas Bryant. So, and Westbrook is definitely going to elevate others around him. Hardworking player, always in the gym. He's going to rub off on some of these younger players. Yeah, the Wizards, they're definitely in a better position than the Rockets. The Rockets play in the West. James Harden's getting older. He's not going to be able to average 30 points every season anymore. Maybe he's got a few more good years in him, but I mean, it's just, to me, it's just Harden and unknowns. I don't know what's going to happen with this Rockets team. I have a bold prediction, Will.
Oh yeah,
The Rockets are not going to make the playoffs. This isn't a playoff
wow.
team to me in the West.
That's not a good endorsement for your boy Harden.
He's not my boy, but he's a great scorer. But John Wall, I mean, what are we going to get out of him? Are we going to get 15 points or less? Like, is DeMarcus Cousins really good? I don't think so. So it's going to be a tight West. And also, new coach. Are they going to let what Harden just do his thing? Dribble? Steven Silas is the head coach there. They have Wall. I mean, Wall's going to want the ball. He's a point guard. He passes a lot. Like, how's this dynamic even going to work? I mean, I don't see it working in Houston. Wizards definitely win this trade, and I think the Rockets miss the 2021 postseason. I think this is the end of the amazing Rockets era that we've known for so many years with Harden, MVP type numbers, and other good players around him. I don't see this team being good.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting opinion, saying they're not going to make the playoffs. But, I really do think that the Rockets knew what they were doing. I think when they traded Russell Westbrook, this deal to me looks
this
like...
doesn't make any sense for me, for the Rockets.
No, to me, it looks like it's more about getting rid of Westbrook than it is about getting, Wall in the first-round pick. I think they needed to get rid of him
fair.
because he didn't want to play there. They didn't think it was going to work with him and Harden again for another year. It's like, all right, let's just get rid of this guy. And look, we're going to get a first-round draft pick from a team that missed the playoffs last year, and we're going to get a former all-star in John Wall who hasn't played. And yeah, I mean, just because he hasn't played in a while doesn't mean he's going to be instantly awful. He's had
Could
this
be pretty
time
good.
off,
yeah,
and he's been injured, but he's had all this time to rest and work on his game. So if he's been diligent and been improving, he can come in and actually still be a decent player. So, I mean, neither of us think he's going to be that great, but it doesn't mean that he won't be. I think the Rockets, they just needed to get rid of Westbrook. They needed to make these changes. They obviously are a brand new team with a new head coach. Cousins is there. He's probably unsalvageable. He's probably, reduced to an 8-8 player like Dwight at this point. That's kind of what I see from Cousins. And then you get Wall, who's a wild card, and then you have Harden, who is one of the best scorers and best players in the NBA. So they just needed to make this change and get rid of Westbrook. And this is probably the best thing that they could get without sort of going into rebuild mode and getting a bunch of picks and a bunch of role players. They actually got, a partner for Harden to work with. So to me, it's more about getting rid of Westbrook. And I think they knew what they were doing. And that's why it's so dumb to me that people think that they won the trade, because they're sort of making this deal out of necessity. They had to get rid of him. They had to get something. They were the more desperate team in this case. So to me, it's definitely the Wizards. They got a former MVP who's still good. It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be the Wizards. And I mean, with the Rockets, I mean, they finished 4th last year in the West. I don't think they're finishing top 5. Like I said, they're not going to make the playoffs. They could get in as the 8th seed or 7th seed, but I don't know. They did sign Christian Wood. That may help, but I don't know. I don't like this team. I don't know what John Wall is going to be, a wild card, but if the Rockets, if it goes south early and this team is like 10th in the West, the trade deadline, maybe James Harden could be gone out of Houston. Well, maybe James Harden could be traded to Brooklyn or something mid-season. That's still a possibility we have to talk about.
That would
Like
be
if they're
absurd,
just
having
being
James Harden
bad.
get traded in the middle of the year. That'd be the
Yeah.
craziest thing to happen in the NBA in a long time.
I mean, if the Rockets are being bad, like, well, what's the point of keeping Harden at that point? If John Wall is not working, Boogie's not working, and Harden's just like, get me out of here. I'm not gonna make the playoffs in the West. Send me to Brooklyn or some team.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean, the
good
trade's still
point.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the Rockets are crashing down this year.
you'd have to find a team willing to basically change their entire roster in the middle of the
The
year, and I don't
the
know how many
Rockets,
teams would be willing to
yeah,
do that.
yeah, I don't know, but like this is it for the James Harden saga in Houston. This team is not going to win a championship. That's clear. Their best shot was in 2018. They almost beat the KD Curry Warriors. They almost won, but that's it. Like they're never going to get there again. This team isn't good enough. They have a bunch of nice players. I mean, Eric Gordon was terrible last year. It looks he's declining significantly. They don't have Capella anymore. Bookie is an A&A guy, just like Dwight, as you said before. And John Wall's the wild card. So I mean, John Wall actually averages 20 and 10, and Harden averages like 29. I mean, this team does have hope. They can definitely make the playoffs with that, but I guess it's sort of up to John Wall actually to have if this team is going to be a bottom feeder in the West or they're going to make some noise in the playoffs. Because we know what we're getting from Westbrook in Washington. We know he's going to be good every night and he's not going to miss games.
You think the Wizards are going to make the playoffs this year with that duo?
I don't know. I mean, do you think they're better? Do you think getting Westbrook puts them over Atlanta? I mean, probably. If they were better
Yeah,
than the Hawks last year, they're probably a better team than the Hawks, right? And the Hawks have a lot of
yeah.
moving parts too.
They still have a good roster. Westbrook, Beal, Hachimura,
Orlando,
Bertans, O'Brien. They
yeah.
have a solid team, and I mean, I guess Trey Young is better than Westbrook at this point.
But they
I
don't
don't
have a
know.
Beal on their team. That's the
Right.
problem. The Hawks don't have that second All Star, even though Beal wasn't an All Star last year, but he averaged 30. We can call him an All Star. But Washington last year finished 10th. I guess, yeah, 10th. They actually made the bubble, so they've won 25 games. I mean, yeah, they could definitely be on Orlando. Orlando was the 8th seed last year. They were 33 and 40. Or, yeah, they were 33 and 40. So, yeah, I could see Washington being better than them. They definitely have way more star power than the Magic. They're going to be a more exciting team. The Magic draft picks haven't panned out recently. Hornets, they definitely improved a little bit. Gordon Hayward, LaMelo, if LaMelo shows up and does his thing, his first year, like what everyone expects him to do, they could be fighting. And for the AC, it's basically between the Hawks, Wizards, and Hornets. And Orlando, I guess. It's going to be one of those teams will. I mean, I think the Wizards do have the best chance now adding Westbrook.
Yeah, it's true. The Hawks. I mean, we could see. I think we'd see the Hawks and the Wizards make it. The Hawks roster now, I would expect it to be actually really good. They have a lot of solid players. They made some of the best moves in the offseason, we said. Where they drafted Onyeka, they signed Gallinari, Bogdanovich also. So I don't know. They have a pretty substantial starting lineup, and even their
Then
bench
who you,
depth is still good. You're getting a second year of Cam Reddish, a second year of Hunter. Obviously Trey Young is their star. So I could see both of those teams actually making the playoffs.
so then who are you kicking out? Because Orlando was the 8th seed. Brooklyn was the 7th seed this year. Philly, Indiana, Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee are the teams up at the top. So
Yeah.
you have to take
Okay.
out one
Well,
of those other teams to
let's
let the
see. Okay,
Hawks and the Wizards both in.
The Bucks definitely making it. The Raptors definitely making it. The Celtics definitely making it. So those are locked up.
Heat,
We'll say that the Heat,
Heat,
they made the finals, so they're coming back. Um, the Nets, they have their stars, so they'll make it. So that's what, 5 teams secured. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean that leaves you with the
Indiana,
4 seed
Philadelphia.
Indiana, 45 wins. The 6 seed Sixers, 43 wins, and the Magic. I think we could see that the Magic miss it,
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
I guess, I guess maybe the Magic are the only team I could see missing it. Maybe
Yeah,
the Sixers just fall
maybe
apart. I don't know. I'm not
with
ready to make
Doc.
that prediction yet.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think Indiana has a better chance of falling apart before the Sixers because I mean, but then again, I mean, yeah, they fired McMillan, right? They don't even have a coach. We don't even know who's the Pacers coach. They don't have one. Oladipo denied about wanting out of Indiana. I mean, they still have Sabonis and nice players. I mean, I would pick Indiana to miss the playoffs if they had more issues, but they don't. So it's going to be between the Hawks and Wizards, it looks like, for the 8th spot.
Yeah,
Or
and things are
Orlando.
going to get
Shuffle
shaken up this
Orlando.
year because there's the
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
tournament for the 8th seed. So I mean, a lot of things could
That's
happen.
true.
Even
Seeds
even if the
7 to 10.
even if the standings are the way we think, with maybe the Wizards with the best record out of all those bottom teams, the Magic, if they just make the playing tournament, they could just beat those teams in those games and win. So really anything could
Yeah.
happen when you're looking at the bottom of the East.
Yeah, if Indiana's 7th, 10 seed gets in, Washington could be the 10 seed, upset them, and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Could happen. Hawks could be 8th or 9th. So we're going to see a lot of fun basketball race for the 8th seed in the East and the West this year. There's some exciting teams. Pivoting to some Knicks basketball, since we love the Knicks. And
Speaking of playoffs,
the Knicks, they are not going to make it. But training camp opened up for all teams, and Knicks scheduled. Actually, speaking of Indiana, the Knicks open at Indiana December 23rd. So that's their first game. I'm going to be excited. The preseason starts next Friday, which we will actually be back for next week's show, Friday afternoon. Talk about the preseason starting. And they play the Cavs twice and Pistons twice, home and home. Austin Rivers has high praise for Obi Toppin. Will, did you hear this? According to Steve Popper in a tweet, Austin Rivers said Obi Toppin is a beyond freak athlete. He's going to be really good. I know I obviously didn't get to play against him last year, but just seeing him in here, my God, everyone is hyping up Obi-Wan in training camp. Is this going to be real? Are we going to see him have a Zion-esque appearance on opening night? Against Indiana, are we going to see him score like 20 points and grab 10 rebounds? Is Obi the answer?
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny hearing from Austin Rivers,
I know.
speaking of a beyond freak athlete, this is sort of what Austin Rivers was coming out of college. And then
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
true.
what happened to him. He kind of
I
just
don't know
became
either.
trash. Now he's relegated to the Knicks bench. Just talking about, the future players. But I don't know, Obi Toppin, and he has the 3rd highest odds to win Rookie of the Year to open the season. So that's obviously promising. He is the oldest lottery pick. I said it in our draft recap show that Obi Toppin's ceiling could easily be a taller Zion, but his floor could also be Derek Williams, another former Knick who is just a trash, again, freak athlete in college, and then he didn't
what
put the work in
happened?
the NBA and fell apart. So there's sort of a large spectrum for what Obi Toppin could become. Opening night, I mean, we don't even know what the starting lineup is going to be. He could come off the bench opening night. I'm backing up players like Julius Randle and Alec Burks and players like that. So we don't even know how many minutes he's going to see. I don't think he is going to come out of the gate just like destroying everyone. I think it's going to take a little while for him to, adapt, and maybe there's going to have to be a lineup change for him to really, come into his own and take over the team. But this year, it really is going to be all about RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. These are sort of your players transitioning from young future talent into, okay, these are players that need to lead the team right now. And, we're not going to get that out of Julius Randle. A lot of Knicks fans wanted him to be traded. He's still here as of right now. Westbrook was already moved, so that whole dream is dead for the Knicks.
Yep.
So it's just going to be about the players that they have. We got to see Barrett average 20. We got to see Robinson finally start. No more Taj Gibson. No more whatever. They signed Nerlens Noel, so I'm sure he's going to be starting some of the time, maybe even to start the year. So that's another whole disaster we can get into. But it's going to be about those guys. If Obi Toppin wants to come in and he's 21 years old. He's already, almost as old as Kevin Knox, who's heading into his 3rd year. If he wants to come in and be a 17 points per game player, we're going to be freaking out and we're going to be really celebrating that. But I don't think opening night or the beginning of the year is going to be time for that. I think it's going to be an evaluation of the other guys first, and then Toppin off the bench. We'll see it come later.
The Knicks are sick of losing. I mean, Leon Rose's plan A, he really wanted Chris Paul on this team. I remember I talked about on the show. I won't be opposed to it. I mean, Chris Paul, great leader for the locker room, could definitely get the best out of everyone. But now he's in Phoenix, and Phoenix is going to make a push for the playoffs. Knicks tried to get moves with their cap space, so they just failed. I mean, thank God we didn't sign Gordon Hayward. But it's just going to be the final year we actually tank well. Are we going to have the first pick and get a superstar next draft, and then we'll sign free agents? Is this going to be the last year? Because if Toppin and Barrett improve a lot, and same with Mitch, I mean, well, that's good news for us moving forward. Barrett should at least average close to 20 points this year, I would think, right?
I hope so.
He said he was disappointed that the season ended in March because he felt like he was playing his best ball. That's true. He was improving a lot his free throw shooting, but we got to have him take the next step forward. I mean, he was a top 3 pick right after Ja and Zion. Barrett's definitely got to still improve shooting because we know he can drive, we know he can rebound, but where's the free throw shooting and 3-point shooting going to be? Let's see it. He's going to have to be probably the leading scorer on this team, him or Randall. So let's see what he can do. We're giving the keys to him for the entire season under Thibodeau, and we'll see how Thibodeau fits all these players in.
It's interesting to me because this feels like the first year of Knicks basketball that they're going into the season not trying to be bad, but they
are going to be
bad.
bad.
It feels like the first year of that since the year before we drafted Porzingis. Like that was the last year with Melo really, they shut him down for that year. And they were really bad. They won 15 games and they drafted Porzingis. And I feel like this is a really similar year. They have a brand new head coach in Tom Thibodeau. And that year they had a brand new head coach in Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher was terrible.
I feel like there are a lot of parallels. They're not going into this year with the intent of tanking. The whole thing for them.
They kind of did that with Derek Fisher, though, I feel like.
Well, they did. After halfway in the year, they were like, okay, we're shutting down Melo. We're done. But going into that season, they weren't planning on doing that.
You're right.
So this season, I feel like it's the same way. I feel like they're just, you mentioned it. Leon Rose's plan, he failed. Acquiring Chris Paul, acquiring Gordon Hayward. These players, for whatever reason, did not go to the Knicks. Gordon Hayward, I guess we dodged a bullet because he made way too much money. But
definitely,
this team just, it's not a good roster. And it's not on purpose this time. There's no fallback into, well, we're waiting for KD and Kyrie, so we have a bad team. We're just going to be bad and get a draft pick and get Zion and get those players later. There kind of is no fallback option. We're kind of just in the middle of, I don't even know, because let's say they are the worst team in the NBA. That doesn't even guarantee them the first pick.
No.
Last time we were in that situation, we got the third pick, so that didn't even work out. Let's say we get the first pick. We take whoever, Cade Cunningham, I guess, is going to be the first pick, 6'8" point guard. Finally, the Knicks point guard disaster has been saved for once and for all.
Probably not, because we're not gonna get the first pick.
Exactly, but okay, let's say we get him, and let's say he's good. Let's say he averages like 14 and 10 assists in his rookie year. I don't even know, what. Then what? You have Cade Cunningham, R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, and I guess Robinson and whatever.
Seems like a my league team.
I don't know how that gets you anywhere else. You're gonna eventually have to.
Barrett's gonna have to be a superstar. Yeah,
I don't know.
Or one of these players become a superstar.
I don't know how the Knicks go from where they're at right now to actually being relevant again, unless their draft picks all pan out and all become great, or they finally sign an all-star level player, and it just doesn't seem like people want to play for the Knicks right now.
I think the only thing that could save the Knicks is we just luck into a superstar with whatever pick we like. If Obi Toppin becomes a superstar, we kind of lucked into that. 8, we were supposed to get the 6th pick. We fall back to 8 because the lottery curses us. And Toppin, the Cavs don't take him. I mean, there was talks he was supposed to go in the top 5, but he fell to 8. The Knicks are just going to have to luck into a Kawhi Leonard, like the 15th pick, or Giannis or something like that. Maybe the Knicks don't get the first pick next year, and their second or third pick, it becomes the best player in the draft. They're just going to have to get lucky somehow. That's the only way that the Knicks will ever be good, it seems like, moving forward. But I have high hopes for Barrett this year.
I think you're right, and the craziest thing is that happened already. We drafted Porzingis 4th overall.
Yeah,
unexpectedly became one of the best players in the draft. And obviously,
trade him for a bag of
they
chips.
ended up having to trade him. His knees are now destroyed. It just, even when it goes right, it goes wrong.
So maybe it was a good thing we got rid of him. But Barrett, no injury history. I hope he can average close to 20 this year. I mean, if RJ Barrett pans out, then we're going to be looking good going forward. And especially if Toppin becomes a nice player too, then maybe whatever draft pick, they just have to hit on some consecutive years of draft picks. I mean, look at all these teams. The Heat, Bam, Hero, they hit on these draft picks, and then they were able to sign Jimmy. The Nuggets, Jokic was a second-round pick. They lucked it. He became a superstar, basically. Jamal Murray, that was our pick. He had 7th overall, like not supposed to be a superstar, but you saw him perform like a magician in the playoffs last year. All these teams, you got to hit in your draft picks, and the Knicks have to do that eventually in our lifetime. They did it once. Can they do it again? Maybe. We think Barrett can be a great player, and we hope Toppin can too. It looks like everyone loves Toppin so far.
Yeah, eventually
until he gets on the
hopefully.
court and plays. Yeah.
Robinson, maybe a lucky second-round pick. He's not great, but he could be a serviceable starter, which is more than you expect from your second-round pick. So
that was a great pick.
We'll take that. Eventually, yeah, maybe eventually things will work out. I don't know. Maybe we'll be doing the show for 5 years before we say the Knicks are in the playoffs. That'd be a disaster.
That'd be a disaster.
All right, well, a lot of NBA talk in this episode. We can't close out a Friday show without giving you our NFL Week 13 preview. So we'll go through a couple of these games, our locks, our features, things that we usually do. Noah, our locks have been trash recently.
They have been really bad
16,
recently.
19, and 1. You are 16, 18, and 2. So the same amount of wins. You have the advantage with that one tie. Yeah, not exactly locks every single week. Kind of up in the air in terms of what
more
we pick.
More of fade our picks. Actually, that's what's become.
yeah. We're not Vegas bettors. We don't do this for a living. So
it's our first year of the show. Maybe we will improve next year. It's just about gaining improvement. We're rookies still.
All right. Well, I'll just get into it. My first lock of the week. It's going to be the Chargers. They are at home. The Patriots are coming in to face them. I know. I feel like I picked the Cardinals. I picked the Chargers. I picked
the Vikings and Seahawks every week, and they both let me down. I mean, the Vikings always let me down, actually. So,
yeah. Well, I'm going with the Chargers as my first lock. They're at home, and they are not the favorite team. The Pats are coming in at a -1 favorite, and I picked the team against the Pats last week.
I told you it was a trap. I told you the Patriots will win. I told you they would win.
And it wasn't. So now here we go. It's sort of the opposite scenario. The Chargers are at home. They're not favored. I think the Chargers are my lock here at +1. The Pats, they're just not that good of a team this year. I mean, come on. And the Chargers, they have, probably the best rookie at this point now that Burrow is gone in Justin Herbert. They're an electric offense. They never lose games by double figures. I think the Chargers are going to be able to win at home. The Pats are going West Coast. They're going through the time change. It's got to be the Chargers at home by +1.
They got to win a game.
All they have to do is win.
Anthony Lynn said we might be too far out of the playoff picture. Like he's already giving up on the season. You don't want to hear that from your head coach, but he might be gone after this year anyway.
He probably needs to get fired. Yeah.
Maybe the Patriots, they win this game. They're 6-6. They're back in the hunt. Ravens are 6-5. We both picked the Ravens, I believe, to make the Super Bowl or go really far, and they look like a terrible team. So,
yikes.
But yeah, I'll go with one of my locks. The Colts. I don't know why it's only 3.5. Texans lost Will Fuller, the paper mache man, on my fantasy team. He eventually just self-destructed. That's just what happened. PED suspension. 6 games.
Yeah, no wonder why I wasn't getting hurt. On PEDs.
I mean, whatever he was taking, they should give to like Nick Bosa and all those other people because they could play then.
I mean, if they give it to everybody, is it enhancing? It just now it's the status quo. Everybody has it, so
yeah,
it evens the playing field.
It's not enhancing, but Texans, they've been running too hot recently. I know they beat the Lions. The Lions were awful on Thanksgiving. Colts coming off a loss. They're going to be motivated. They're still trying to win the division and clinch the top seed. So I don't see how the Texans can stop the run here and beat the Colts. Colts defense is good too. They're going to limit Watson in his big plays. Losing Fuller is a big loss though. Colts -3.5. That should be an easy win. Could go the other way, but we got to get back to the positive side here.
Yeah, that's why I'm doubling down on it with you. I'm picking the Colts also. sometimes we overlap in our picks, and this is just one of those cases.
Yeah.
And I agree. The Texans offense, I think David Johnson is also not going to make this game. So they are really limited. Watson has basically none of his weapons that he had last year or coming to this year. It's going to be like the Kiki QT show or like the Kenny Stills. Is he even on them? Like they have basically no one. And
Yeah.
the
They're
Colts,
done.
the Colts have one of the best defenses already, and now they're facing a Texans offense with no weapons. I mean, it should be pretty easy for them. Obviously, division games, they're always closer than we think, but the Colts are just simply a much better team already. Even if the Texans had Will Fuller, and now with him gone, it seems like hope is lost for them. So Colts, I think this is a good double pick for us.
This leads into my next pick. This is a risky pick. It's not a safe pick because we're both not picking.
Okay.
I'm going with the Eagles +8 at Green Bay. I'm not
Oh my
scared
God.
off by the Eagles +8. They're getting 8 points. I think they're going to show up this week. The Eagles did not run the ball at all last week against the Seahawks, and Carson Wentz throw the ball and throw a lot of picks. But you know what? Green Bay cannot stop the run. Doug Pearson's going to look at the film and be like, why haven't we given the ball to Miles Sanders enough? And he's going to give it to Miles Sanders a lot in this game, I think. Book it. Miles Sanders over 100 yards in this game rushing. And the Eagles, they may lose, but it's going to be less than 8. They can cover this game. I think they're going to show up. The division's still on the line. I know I don't like picking 4 NFC East teams, but I think this is a pretty good spot for the Eagles to show up successfully here and cover 8 points at Green Bay.
Wow, you picking a running back to succeed against the Packers, it seems like something that I would do, and I did it last week in David Montgomery. I featured him as my
that
player,
guy,
and you made fun of it. You said David Montgomery was trash. You said that he wasn't going to do anything.
because he's bad.
And guess what? Over 100 yards and a touchdown against the Packers.
So if that turd can get 100 yards, then why can't Miles Sanders do that?
Because the Eagles are dysfunctional.
And the Bears aren't? You don't even know who their quarterback is every week.
A good response, but I don't know. The Eagles, are they even going to have the ball? Carson Wentz just gets rid of it as soon as they get it.
He's not going to pass the ball. That's why they're going to run for 6 yards every play.
All right, well, my final lock, I picked them last week, and they did good for
second,
me.
You mean? I know your final. I'm dumb.
I'm going back to them. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are a -13.5 on Sunday Night Football.
That's huge.
But
huge.
Guess what? They're playing the quarterbackless Broncos. They have
a quarterback.
A quarterback.
No, now they do. That's why
that's
Drew Lock is going to be playing probably. And he's not.
Yeah, but I don't
bad.
care. Look, it's the Chiefs, it's Mahomes, the Broncos. They're not a good team. They're not going to score a lot of points on this defense, which has been surprisingly good. There's been no consistency. Locke is coming back off another injury again. They were literally operating with no QB last week.
That's really unfortunate.
The Chiefs can win 28-14 or more. I mean, they could score 40 points in this game. They could just absolutely destroy them. It's on national TV. I think the 13.5 is not too big. I'm going to take it here.
Yeah, that's a fair pick. It's so sad seeing the Broncos be this bad. They didn't have quarterbacks play last week. They lost Sutton. They lost Von Miller. They lost their whole team in the injury this year. Because we both had high hopes. We both thought the Broncos could win 8 games or 9 games and make the playoffs. That was not the case. We don't even know if Drew Lock is good. I remember Coward, he made that win MVP, win MVP. But look at this. Look at the Broncos team. How could he win MVP? He didn't even play last week because of COVID. What a horrible take by Coward. Nevertheless, let's go into my final lock. It is going to be the Bills. I changed the last minute. I had the 49ers actually winning this game on Monday night. Niners are -1, but I just can't believe the Niners are favored in this game. I know Buffalo's traveling out west, but I think Nick Mullins is still the 49ers quarterback. Why would I trust Nick Mullins against the Bills? The Bills are the much better team. They're going to be able to score more than the Niners. Bills +1. This should be an easy game. I don't know whether it could be a trap for all we know. I was on the Niners side before. Maybe I'll shoot myself in the foot if the Niners win, but final pick, going with the Bills. They're going to win this game.
Yeah, seems like they should win. They are the better team, even on the road. And you don't like the Niners, so no surprise here.
I'm gonna pick against the Niners. They're the best last place team in the league, though.
My picks: Colts, Chargers, and the Chiefs.
Eagles, Bills, Colts.
All right, well, that brings us to the final segment of the show, Fantasy Features and Flops. My feature of this week the NFC Offensive Player of the Week from Week 12. And that's Kirk
Oh my
Cousins.
God.
You can call me biased. You can call me whatever you want. But the bottom line is
Yeah,
they are
you're
playing against the
biased.
Jacksonville Jaguars in this game. Okay.
The
They are 1
Jaguars
and
are good,
10.
man. The best 1-10 team ever. They play every game close.
Ever.
Go on, talk up Kirk. You think he's going to have 3
look.
touchdowns again?
Kirk, Adam Thielen's back for this week. They got another weapon. Jefferson was outstanding in his absence last week. He stepped into the number 1 role and was great. 2 touchdowns. It just they're going to destroy the Jags. Kirk is going to be able to throw all over them. I think Dalvin Cook last week, he wasn't injured, but he did get a little bit banged up. So maybe if they're facing a bad team, they sort of lean away from him. Even I think he is going to play, but I just think this team is going to be throwing the ball a lot, and you can see the Vikings go out to a big lead here, and it's just going to be because Kirk is throwing it into the end zone. So if you need to stream a quarterback this week, Kirk Cousins, he should be available. The Jags suck. Just go get him. Come on.
As you say that, watch how the Jags win, but they're probably not.
Well, the Vikings disclaimer: they've lost to the Cowboys and the Falcons. So watch
Yeah,
out.
they could lose to the Jaguars. My AFC, or not AFC, we're not even, the conference doesn't matter in this. Fantasy
Well, they're
feature.
in the AFC.
They are. Kiki Kuti in the AFC. Watson's going to have to throw somebody in this game. It's going to be Cooks and Kuti. Okay, after some headphone malfunction, we're back. Kiki Kuti, fantasy feature of the week. Watson's going to have to throw to people.
Wow, nice description there.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I probably would go with a tight end if I was looking at the Texans' weapons. I think David Fells. I feel like those people are more likely to get more involved with Fuller out. I feel like Watson, he likes throwing to those guys when he doesn't really have any other option. So I don't know.
Fair
Maybe Duke Johnson's probably owned by now. A lot of people know that David Johnson's not around, so he's probably not an option. I think QT's fine, but look to those tight ends. I think they're a decent pickup.
I'm not starting
flop
any of
this
those
week.
ends.
My flop this week is going to be a player that I own. He's had a really unfortunate year. His team just completely fell apart after Dak got injured, and that's Zeke. Zeke is my flop of the week. They are going up against the Ravens in this game. This game is going to be played on Tuesday, so a unique starting point. The Cowboys, they're going to get some extra time off, but that is going to be not to their benefit. They just are a really bad offense at this point. The Ravens, they've had their struggles, but they are still a decent defense. They were able to, sort of limit the Steelers last week, even though they lost. It wasn't like a huge blowout. It was kind of back and forth. So I think the Ravens are going to be able to neutralize the Cowboys here and finally get a win after they're on their losing streak. I would stay away from Zeke if you can.
Yeah, I like that. Zeke didn't even play well against the football team. You'd have to expect Baltimore wins pretty easily if Lamar's back. My flop, James Robinson, another running back. This is a running back from the AFC, so you had 2 NFC picks, 2 AFC for me. James Robinson, they're going to get crushed by the Vikings here. I mean, the Vikings, you never can count on that. You can never guarantee a win for them this season, but James Robinson, he gets a lot of volume. I don't think he gets over 100 yards. I think it's like 60 or 70 yards. Still a good player. Maybe produce some fantasy, but he's going to flop this week. The Jags are going to have to score through the air to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, you'd have to think that the Vikings are blowing them out. They really can't run the ball that much, so it does make sense that Robinson would not be that involved.
If you think it's going to be a blowout, yeah.
That's going to do it for us here. Episode 51 on December 4th. Happy birthday, Jay-Z and Skip, 2 legends. On December 4th. All right, well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple. Subscribe to the show, Spotify, all that. Follow us on Instagram at the Bona Fide Scrubs, on Twitter.
Bona Fide Scrubs. He's going to be on YouTube.
Check out the YouTube channel. We're going to try and upload some clips from the show, a little smaller, more condensed. Some of our takes, some of our best segments. They're going to end up there. Videos to correspond with it. So go check it out. It's just the Bona Fide Scrubs on YouTube. That's it. All right. We'll see you next Friday.
Peace.